Welcome back to the Unanimous Decision Podcast. I am your host, DPalm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. Follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. Follow the entire MTR network at, you guessed it, the MTR network. You found us, don't lose us. Subscribe in the iTunes store. Subscribe everywhere podcasts are given away for absolutely free. All of the MTR network offerings are now also available on Spotify, so subscribe to us there. You can follow us on all the social medias. I know Instagram pages are going up for Super Tuesday and for Hit the Corner. There may be a UD Pod page going up at some point. We got to see how I want to finagle that from my personal Instagram at dpalm66 because I'm consistent across social media because I feel like that's important. You leave a 5-star review on iTunes. We're going to read it on the air. We're not going to do any reviews today because we're here for a very specific reason. And it's not just because I am using podcasting as a way to avoid election night coverage as a record here on November 6th. And this is either a exclamation point to a very exciting night for me, or it is the brief reminder that life does indeed continue after chaos. But we shall see in the morn what this podcast will be. But what it's going to be about is the NFL season so far. Right, that's right. We're just wrapped up week 9. And that means that every team in the league has played at least 8 games. That's halfway through the slate. That's 16 games for those of you keeping track at home. And now we're going to take a quick look around the league and see who's doing what, who should be lauded, who should be mocked. And I'm going to talk about your team, and it's probably not going to be nice. So brace yourselves for that. We're going to start first with the teams that won the biggest this past week. That's right, the gentlemen who received game checks, but received no blows to the head, neck, and chest. That is the teams that were on a bye week. The first one on the list here is the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals entered their bye week. You know, I think they're doing better than... They're doing right what they should be doing. I think they're doing actually better based on the results of the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game we're going to get to later. They're sitting at second in their division, 5-3, no ties, Pittsburgh. But I feel like they're trending the right way. What's not trending the right way is a broken foot in AJ Green's foot, bone in AJ Green's foot. It looks like it's going to be a few weeks. I know people say, "Oh, they should do more with the talent than they've got." And I think we all overlook the fact that Andy Dalton's the guy under center. And whatever you want to have problems with Marvin Lewis's inability to keep certain players out of trouble on that team, the fact that he's done what he's done with Andy freaking Dalton, it's kind of impressive. And I think we're going to see in this stretch without A.J. Green just who Andy Dalton really is. And Bengals fans are going to get a lot more appreciative from my boy A.J., I think. Real quick, real fast. The rest of their slate, you know, I don't have them making the playoffs right now just because I think that there's some other teams in the AFC who are going to make some noise. But I think they're just out, just barely going to miss the playoffs here. The next team on the docket to talk about here is the Arizona Cardinals. And I can't talk about the Cardinals without talking about the legend at the bank. The king of grift, Sam Bradford. Now, I almost said Josh Rosen because Josh Rosen is the guy who I think all of us being college football fans or guys who watched him last year kind of were excited to see Rosen step in and take the leap with this team. And when they decided to bench him, it was like, oh, okay, the team's not ready. Rosen's not ready. Let's let him sit for a year and watch. Well, Sam Bradford said, you're going to watch, but I'm going to get fired. And that's what he did. He's the latest. The Cardinals are the latest team to realize that Sam Bradford is not very good at football, and they cut the 9-year veteran on Saturday. They signed Bradford in March to a 1-year, $20 million contract with $15 million guaranteed. Started 3 games, threw for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 picks, and Josh Rosen supplanted him as the starter in Week 4. Since Week 4, he's made $1 million. He's missed out on $1.5 million in incentives, considering he was wearing sweats, carrying a clipboard, and wearing a hat. He'll hit waivers now. He can get picked up anytime. And another team that's on the bye week is actually saying he might be the future here. Listen very closely, team that's going to be talked about later. That's in Jacksonville. I know the quarterback thing is bad. Sam Bradford is not the answer. He's just not. He's not. It doesn't matter what the question is. Who can bridge us to no? Who can no? The answer is not Sam Bradford. And Sam Bradford, if you remember, was the last one of that classic quarterbacks who got that big signing money as a rookie. So, look, the numbers out there on how much money Sam Bradford has grifted in the NFL since 2010. According to Darren Ravel, it's over $130 million. He's never won more than 7 games a season. And I'll tell you what, he's probably going to be a lifetime backup wearing a hat, carrying a clipboard, and wearing sweats for the next 5 to 10 years. Because that's what happens to mediocre white quarterbacks. And if you think I'm just being incendiary, go count the number of backup black quarterbacks in the NFL. Once you're not a starter, you're out of the league if you're black. And Sam Bradford's going to make money for a very, very, very long time. Next up on the docket to talk about the Indianapolis Colts. And I got to be honest about something, folks. I think this is all karmic justice. And Indianapolis is in their bye week at 3-5. They are at the bottom of the AFC South. But I think it's karma. I think that for years, Peyton Manning feasted on the bones of a decrepit AFC South. The Texans were butt. The Titans were butt. And Jacksonville was Jacksonville up until the last 2 years. Like, Peyton Manning, hey, he's a great gamer. I'm not going to hold anything against him or Tom Brady that the divisions they played in were trash while they were dominating them. But it's important to kind of note that. That being said, quietly, Andrew Luck's playing a lot better than I thought he would coming off this injury. I had a lot of questions on how the Colts front office had handled kind of not just his injury, but kind of the atmosphere around his injury, specifically the offensive line. Andrew Luck hasn't been touched in 3 weeks. Now they're about to play the Jags, who got him for 10 sacks last December. Not great. But he hasn't been sacked over the course of the last 156 pass attempts. That's the longest streak of his career. He's only taken 10 sacks this season. Second lowest in the league. Lowest sack rate per percent, that lives in Indianapolis. Things that, you kind of take for granted that the Colts line is bad. Spoilers, Colts line's not bad. We're going to see they're going to be tested on Sunday against Jacksonville, but at 3-5, Frank Reich's got to feel pretty good about this offense and this offensive line, because that was the question for so long. I think that it was hard to see this program moving forward with a quarterback who was so oft injured because of a decrepit O-line. I think the fact that Andrew Luck may have lost some of his top-end arm strength, and that's a not wait to try to throw every ball as deep as possible, is probably helping some of his timing and releasing. But make no mistake, the clean sheet goes largely to the offensive line. And because this is the show, and you know who I am, of course, I'm going to tip my cap. Next up for talking about is the Eagles. And I joked that this is the group of players who won the most last weekend, but the team that really won the most last weekend didn't play, because that was Philadelphia. Because on a large stage where no one else was around, the NFC East announced that the entire division is trash, and the Eagles at 4-4 have no reason not to walk away with it. Now, I know people are saying, oh, Carson Wentz has looked a little slow coming back. Hey, I'm old enough to remember when that injury was a 24-month injury. Of course he's playing himself into shape. Of course he's getting his timing back. And what better way to find out that your division is butt than at a time when you've had the extra time to take those extra practices, take those extra reps in a non-contact situation, and get some of that timing back in the bye week. Now, do I think the Eagles are going to walk away with the East? I said that presumably to set myself up to say no, but I'm looking at the standings. The Washington racial slurs are trash. The Cowboys, we will talk about later. And, I guess we might as well talk about the second to last team that was on a bye last week, the New York Football Giants. We here at UD Pod and the MTR Network as a whole would like to wish Odell Beckham Jr. a very happy 26th birthday. That is a subtle reminder for anyone who says he's acting like a child. He's 26. He's got more money than all of us put together and more athletic ability than we could ever dream of. But it's all being wasted because of this franchise's inability to see past its, 6 inches in front of its face and not draft a quarterback last offseason. People are saying, oh, but look at who they got. Look at the Penn State back. He's so good. He's such a workout warrior. Do you see his numbers against the Falcons? A depleted Falcons defense? I think he's a good back. He's a good little back. He's a talented, athletic as all hell. Can't deny that for a second. But talk to guys who watched him in college. Talk to the Michael Felders. Don't believe me. Because when you talk to the Felders like I did in the offseason, it was something of note because he and I agreed that this is a guy in Saquon Barkley who goes out there and hits home runs. He hits a home run. When he gets a crease and he can find that lane, it's a wrap. You're not catching the open field. The problem is a lot of his carrying, particularly at Penn State, was dependent on those home runs. In the game against the Falcons, Saquon Barkley had 14 carries. He amounted to 43 yards and 1 touchdown. Here's a fun exercise. Go to the last, 3 years of Saquon Barkley. Go to those big games. And then take out the maybe 1, maybe 2 biggest runs and then average his yards per carry. It's a lot more, I would say, realistic for a back of his ability. I think he's one of those guys who's super athletic, and so he was always playing running back, but he wasn't the guy who has just that natural vision of a running back. And I know that's kind of amorphous and not really definitive, but talk to a lineman in your life. They know what it's like to block for a guy who knows what he's supposed to be doing back there. And not a guy who says, well, the line on the page said to go through this gap, that's where I went. That's not a running back. That's an athlete holding a football. A running back can watch things develop, can know how a defense is going to react to pressure and just the steps he takes out of the backfield and adjusts accordingly. Your great one-back runners, your Quentin Portises, those are guys who I personally would have loved to zone block for because I knew that no matter where my block took me, he was going to be able to adjust. I had questions about that with Saquon Barkley in 14 for 43 against the Falcons. Does not alleviate those. Lastly, we head to Jacksonville where, again, the problem is the quarterback. And I know that people are saying, oh, the defense isn't as good as it was. Well, the defense is on the field that damn much. Of course they're not going to be as good. Oh, well, Jalen Ramsey. Hey, bro, Jalen Ramsey's on the field for 80% of the game because the quarterback can't stop getting 3 and outs. And if they're not 3 and outs, they're turnovers. So then you get your defense on short fields. So yes, statistically, the defense has slipped. I would advise you watch some of these games. Are some of these points coming later in games when the defense is dog tired? Yep. Are some of these points coming on short fields? Yep. The problem, it sinks from the head. The problem in the offseason was we all knew it, that last year's Blake Bortles could not be counted upon. But the Jags were like, what if we gave him a bunch of money? Then would he be dependable? The answer, of course, is a resounding no. Let's head to the teams that did play this past week, and we're going to start in the Thursday Night Football game. And I remind everyone, Thursday Night Football is a scourge, I say, on the world. It is bad for everyone involved. It's bad for the players who are playing on too short rest. It's bad for the coaches who can't adequately prepare. It's bad for, I would argue, us as viewers because you're getting used to substandard football. How substandard? 2 1-7 teams played last week. And it was a bleeping blowout. That's right. The Niners of San Francisco won the Battle of the Bay, beating the Oakland Raiders 34-3. Now, I could tell you that the story here is Nick Mullins, Southern Miss graduate. That's right. That's where Brett Favre went. I know your mind is racing. You know that school. You don't know why. There it is. I got you. And I'm going to be honest. He came out and put a performance up that I did not see coming. I adamantly said, I will do anything to not watch this football game. But Twitter being what it is, the words Nick Mullins came across. I said, what's a Nick Mullins? I turned it on, and man, did I watch him gash that poor, decrepit, deleted Oakland team. Now, Niners fans, don't think that you're getting off lightly. I need you to realize that the fact that Nick Mullins did this is actually bad for your football team. Because you just gave a bunch of money to a quarterback who tore his ACL in a non-contact injury, and you do not know if his success was a product of Kyle Shanahan calling a great game and getting people wide the fuck open, or if your money was well spent. Because if Nick Mullins can do this in his offense, ruh-roh raggy. Now, counterpoint. He did it in his offense against this Raiders team. And when I say this Raiders team, I think we all know what I mean. The return of Chucky has not been great. For those of you who are keeping track at home, we're now half a year in to a 10-year, $100 million deal. So Raiders fans, if you're counting on that turnaround coming quick, Chucky's got some news for you. I know October's over, but this shit looks like a horror movie to me. Look, and I'm not saying this to be mean to Raiders fans. You guys know what's going on with your team. I'm not going to go into the personnel problems and the cutting of captains and all this other horseshit that they're doing and trading of Amari Cooper, which is just throw up the white flag. I'll say 2 things. One, it's an interesting case study in Oakland because this is a league where it's been largely understood that tanking doesn't work because you'll get somebody killed. John Gruden seems to not care about that, which is interesting. He's going in the media and saying things that are wrong, outright incendiary. It's like if Donald Trump actually got a chance to run a football team sometimes. Players want to play here. Who? Who's calling your cell phone? Who has your cell phone number, John? You haven't won a playoff game since I was a senior in high school. Who is calling your cell phone that's an active NFL player so that I can turn them into the union for tampering? Name one, John. Give us a name. This whole ambiguous, big league. We love the best people want to be Raiders. No, they don't. The best people are trying to get the hell out of there. And the smart ones are trying to get out of there in the next 8 games without getting hurt. Let's leave Thursday night behind. Let's head to the Sunday slate. First game on my list, the Bears and the Bills. We'll talk about the Bears first. The Bears are fun. The Bears are good. The Bears defense is mean and painful and hard to watch because I just think that when Mac and those guys are on, there's not a whole lot anyone can do about it. And that's a little terrifying. Right now, as this recording, they're sitting pretty atop the NFC North in the division. I think might be a little broken beyond them. Every team's got a fatal flaw, but the Bears have found a way. Even with the, I want to say, understated regression of Mr. Trubisky. You watch him out there on Sundays, and it doesn't look like the guy. It looks worse than the guy I saw last year. I think he's getting worse as the season's carrying on. Sunday, he went 12 of 20 against a pretty game Buffalo Bills defense for 135 yards for 1 touchdown and 1 interception. That's not what you want to see out of a guy you're picking in the first round to be the definitive quarterback of your franchise. And let's be very real, aside from one sex cannon, it's been a very dry time for quarterbacks in Chicago. Now, Buffalo, they're 2-7. They're trash. We all know this. None of this is a surprise. Nathan Peterman threw 3 picks on Sunday because that's what Nathan Peterman does. We leave him in for a full game, which I didn't even think was possible. What's craziest to me about Buffalo is that the defense, 1, isn't bad. It's not a terrible defense. But 2, it almost feels like football malpractice because we're living in an age where offenses are designed to run wild based on the penalties that are called, based on the way the game's been designed and streamlined. They're penalizing hitting. So you're supposed to score points. And Buffalo is like on some hardcore hipster retro shit and like, nah, dog, we're just not going to score. I'm a little impressed. Not impressed. Horrified, really. Horrified. They're one of 2 teams that, in this era of offensive explosiveness, seem to be setting back the game. And I don't know why. It feels like an attack, and I don't appreciate it. Panthers-Bucks was next. I don't want to talk about this game because, the Bucks, they benched Jameis because they had to bench Jameis. And also because there's like a weird conspiracy theory that if he plays another game, I think it is, then he have to carry his number over to the next season. I don't know. There's a lot of math nerds are telling you that there are contractual reasons why it was even smarter to bench Jameis than beyond, oh my God, look at him throwing the ball to the other team. But that means that this Harvard kid's back in my life. And Ryan Fitzpatrick went out there on Sunday, 24-40, 243, 4 touches, 2 picks. The Fitzpatrick stands are going to focus on the 4 touches. I'm going to focus on the near 50% completion rate and 2 picks. What I think is scariest about the Bucs is that, yes, clearly he has found something in that offense that works for him. But 1, we know it's going to stop. Like, he's Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's not a journeyman in the league for so long because he was so talented no team could keep him. No, there's always a ceiling. There's always an end. The story comes to an end. But 2, I think once he's broken, once you lose this quarterback, you've got no quarterbacks. Because money aside, I think Jameis might be done in Tampa Bay, and I'm not saying he won't get a shot anywhere else. I'm not saying he should. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he won't. I am saying that I think it's been enough. I think getting Jameis out of Florida is probably best for everyone at this point. And I say out of Florida, but he can't go to Jacksonville. That's if Jacksonville replaced Blake Bortles with Jameis Winston, we'd all be dead by head slap. Like mass suicide by head slap. Amazing. The freaking Panthers. So Cam Newton's having the best year of his life. On Sunday against an admittedly not great Tampa Bay team, he went 19 of 25 for 247 and 2 touchdowns. What's been interesting is that everything they put around him that for I guess the last 3 or 4 years, I was like, I don't know if that fits. I don't know if that fits. Guess what, guys? It fits. Christian McCaffrey, 17 carries for 79 yards, 2 touches, caught 5 more in the air for 78 yards. And you can't tell me that these pieces don't work. You can't name 3 Panthers receivers who aren't Greg Olsen. But whatever they've got going, it works. North Turner has figured out something in this Cam Newton thing. It's if you remember Norv's last job, he walked away from Minnesota because he was like, I can't do it. They don't need me anymore. They don't want me. I'm a distraction. And he walked away. Well, now he's found something in Carolina, and wow, I am suitably impressed by a man I'm supposed to hate because he went to Auburn and because he plays for the Panthers, but he makes the right racists mad, so he makes me happy. Next up, Kansas City and Cleveland. Cleveland 2-6-1, first game of the post-Hugh Jackson era. I'll be honest, guys. When they fired Hugh, I was like, well, I'll be damned. It looks to me like Todd Haley won. Because I didn't watch Hard Knocks, but I was told in no uncertain terms that he was openly vying for that job. And when things got bad in Cleveland and I woke up to the Hugh Jackson fired headline, I figured, oh, shit, here we go. We got to watch this guy running on an NFL team. But no, because Todd Haley was fired right behind him. So it looks like the higher-ups at Cleveland were like, the problem isn't either one of you, it's both of y'all, get out. And you know it was at a desperate point because you know who they named head coach? Greg Williams. That's right, Greg with 2 G's, Bountygate Greg. Greg Williams came through, put money on people's heads, went away, came back, and is now currently an NFL head coach and saying shit like, I had 3 or 4 job offers where they didn't even want to interview me. I just signed the paper. That's not true. But that's the voice of a guy who knows that this interim deal is an interim deal and that he will need a job next year. He's projecting the image of success. We'll see how it works out for him because, Greg, I don't care how many tips you frost or teams you pretend to coach. You will always be Bountygate guy, and no team's willing to absorb that headline. The rumor now is that Bruce Arians is thinking about coming back and coaching this Browns team. Now, we've seen how TV talking heads leaving the booth and coming back to football hasn't gone well. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, John Gruden. Sorry, Raiders fans. But I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think this is the same thing, to be honest. I think that this is a situation where Arians is only 1 year out. I think that he got out before things got real bad in Arizona, which, not a horrible idea. And I think that he could do something with Baker Mayfield. I think they've got the beginnings. I think Baker's good. I don't think he's what they want him to be. This is a team that beat the Ravens at home, a team that skated by the Jets on Thursday, and the rest they've lost or tied. Excuse me. But they've taken the top teams in their division's measure, and, I'm all for it, man. If the Browns are going to be decent, whatever, we'll see. They're playing the Falcons at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Falcons are favored by 4 in Cleveland, so we'll see how that goes for them and me, because Cleveland could say, I'm going to prove DePalm wrong. Went to Cleveland, hung 375, 3 touches and a pick. Pick happened. Kareem Hunt, 17, 91, 2 touches. Travis Kelce, who has taken all ownership of the best tight end trophy. I think that's fair to say. 7 for 99, 2 touches. This offense, man. This is why, everyone's talking about Patrick Mahomes and, maybe this defense finally maybe rounding into shape as people get back and get healthy. God bless Andy Reid. Say what you about Andy Reid and his inability to know what time it is during a football game. He's made this shit fun again. He's made it enjoyable to watch. And I, for one, salute him. They're 8-1. They're probably going to be the 1 seed in the AFC. I think that's goes without saying. Jets, Dolphins, 6-13. Hey, I don't get it, man. How has the AFC East in the last 18 years produced exactly 0 viable quarterbacks? Ryan Tannehill has been thrown through the goddamn ringer by his own team to the point where I don't think he's going to play again this year. Brock Osweiler, congratulations, guys. It's a Brock Osweiler. You knew what it was when you bought it. Sam Darnold, for all his flashes of adequacy early, his Sunday, 21 of 39 for 229 and 4 picks. Jets, fans, I said let you guys party with this Darnold thing while you had it because it wasn't going to last. Welcome to the not going to last part of the program. Holy shit. I think Todd Bowles is done there. They're 3-6 right now. Dolphins are 5-4. Neither one of the teams is going to matter in about now. Let's go to the slugfest that it is every year. Steelers, Ravens. And people are saying that Le'Veon Bell miscalculated. That he didn't think that James Conner could do what he does for this offense. They won 23-16 on Sunday. James Conner is tearing up the field. He had 24 carries for 107 against a very good Ravens defense. But what I think people lose is that everyone gets focused on James Conner's story because it's a great story. Hometown kid, played for Pitt, got cancer, beat it, and plays for the hometown team. Mwah! On the cheap, too, which I don't think he loves, if you be honest about it. But let's not forget, before the cancer diagnosis, James Conner was the Offensive Player of the Year in Power 5 Conference as a sophomore. So people were saying, oh, Le'Veon Bell's cost himself money. Hey, man, cool. Pittsburgh's got to back up one of these. Do you? Does anyone? Who's got a spare Le'Veon? Who's got a James Conner? I think that people who are like trying to shame Le'Veon Bell at this point, they don't get the game. The game is, hey, man, all I need is one. It ain't got to be y'all. But someone needs a back like this. And guess what? They're going to find one. Because this transition tag, I think it's by week 10, if he doesn't sign a report, or week 11 maybe, that he cannot be a free agent, but they have to transition tender him again. The tender's up. It's more money. So yeah, maybe he didn't make the money he thought he'd make this year. Maybe he's making more for less work next. We'll see. It's going to be very interesting from a sports and finance perspective. Ravens, man, they came out hot this season. I thought there was a lot there. This offense is falling apart. It's gone to sleep. Joe Flacco, 23-37 for 206. I don't know feet on the ground with Ravens fans because I think Chad gave up that narcotic. But I do want to say, Lamar, maybe we should have a conversation because defense didn't do terribly. They didn't get kicked around the field by the Steelers. Just look at the numbers. They aren't horrible. James Conner ran a lot, but, 24 carries, 107 yards, a little over 4 carry. It makes sense to me. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, it was never really in doubt. Pittsburgh's probably going to win that division at this point, I think. I think that's fair to say. That head-to-head win over the Ravens last week really helped them. I think the Bengals are going to really struggle without AJ. I just think that this 5-3 is smoke and mirrors. You look at their next upcoming games, and they have the Saints Sunday, then the Ravens. Then, things are a little bit easier if they close out with the Chargers. And then, Steelers, Bears down the stretch. It's a lot to ask, I think, for this Bengals team to make the playoffs at this point. But I think if they can fight and hold their core together, in light of the AJ injury, this should be all right in the future. Lions and Vikings, part of that broken NFC North I was talking about. I'm not sure what the Vikings are. Because for part of the season, their defense wasn't very good again. And Kirk Cousins was playing, I would say, almost peak Kirk Cousins. We're seeing the best of Kirk Cousins. He's doing better than I thought he would, honestly. You've had injuries. Dalvin Cook's kind of working his way back in. Big middle finger for my fantasy team, Dalvin. Thanks for nothing. But yeah, they just beat the dog shit out of the Lions. Lions 10 sacks. Stafford got sacked 10 times in that game. One, that's too much throwing to be doing. And two, good God. You feel like the Lions have given up. I know they've got the new fiery coach, Matt Patricia, who's telling you to sit up straight and shit. And he's going to write on his laminated report card with a pencil. But it doesn't feel like this is a team that's in a method and mode of winning now. 3-5 in Detroit, 5-3-1 in Minnesota. I keep forgetting we have 2 ties this year. It's so weird. I just don't see it. I don't see it for Minnesota. I don't see it for the Lions. I think that the Bears are the cream of that division, and of course with that asterisk that is the Packers because they have that man under center. The Falcons went to the nation's capital to play the Washington Racial Slurs. Talk about the Falcons really quickly. Julio got his first touchdown of the year. Matt Ryan quietly having an amazing season. 350 yards, 4 touches, 1 pick. Tevin Coleman really picking up since Devonta Freeman's injury. I think Free is more important to this offense than they think. I think after Tevin's injury last year, he became a markedly worse pass receiver. And that's hurt the flexibility of this offense. I think the defense is just so injured that an adequate offensive production can put them in a hole they can't dig their way out of, and that's why I think at 4-4, I don't see a playoff berth for the Falcons. I'll be honest. There's too much talent. I don't think 3 get in from the South, and I think that the Saints and the Panthers are both going to get in. The Bucks are going to play spoiler because they got all that firepower for some good goddamn reason, and I just think the Falcons can't keep up. I think the Falcons are a good football team. I think they're a good football team that got bit by the injury bug this year. I am a Falcons fan, obviously. I am not down on the Falcons. I am also realistic about the Falcons. They'll beat the Browns. They'll probably beat the Cowboys. They will lose to the Saints. They will lose to the Ravens. They will lose to the Packers. They will beat the dog shit out of the Cardinals. And they will lose to the Panthers. Like, we've got to, I don't see it. We've got the Chiefs. I mean, this is just, it's not great. It's not great in my opinion. It's not a great, way to close out the season. I think this is probably the best of this Falcons season we're going to see was that game against the Racial Slurs, who we're going to talk about now. How's Alex Smith for you? Like, how was the experience? Washington Racial Slurs. Because, I'll be honest, when they signed AD, I was very nervous. And when he ran the way he ran early, I was more nervous. But, I mean, Father Time's undefeated. Falcons, he ran 9 for 17 for 1.9 a carry, along with 11. Alex Smith was the leading rusher for the Washington Racial Slurs last week. 1 rush for 22 yards, which is too many. You got the Alex fucking Smith. Jesus Christ, Falcons. But, yeah, I think that this is a team that's going nowhere and deserves to go nowhere because they're owned by Dan Snyder. Sorry. Texans beat up on the Broncos 19-17. That sounds like a lot of fun. Demaryius Thomas got traded to the Texans last week and then beat his former team the next week. This is actually something I meant to talk about, but had forgotten, honestly, until now. This flurry of trade deadline action. Normally in the NFL, anyone who's followed it for 27 seconds knows that this is usually a dead period. Not a whole lot happens. All of a sudden, they think they're the NB and everyone's moving. Golden Tate's gone. Demaryius Thomas is playing his old team the next week. It's interesting to see this type of player movement in an era where offenses are so important. And I think that the noticing that you don't have a good offense happens much quicker. Oakland looked around and said, hey, fire sale time. Like I mentioned earlier, the interesting part is that even more than basketball, there's a human element to football because there's a real risk of injury, knee, death on a football field every time you step on it. Everyone says, oh, what if Bama played Buffalo? They would not have enough stretchers for the Bama players. They wouldn't. That's a fact. And these NFL cats who are out here risking life and limb every Sunday to watch a team punt on a season when you've got 8 left, whew. It's going to be very interesting to see some of the stories that come out of some of these locker rooms and front offices. I've got a Google alert for the Raiders because I am so excited for when that shit hits the fan because guess what? A fan hitting's going to happen. Texans are 6-3. I don't know what they're going to do in the NFC South. Like, I think that maybe, just maybe, they can find a way to win it because Jacksonville clearly doesn't seem interested in it. Tennessee, I think, is a flawed team, but a good team. And Indy is probably a year away from being real competitive. All of a sudden, the AFC South's kind of fun to watch. And it's not just because of Deshaun Watson. And Matt's interesting to me. That's fun to me. That's an exciting thing for me to be paying attention to. They beat up the Broncos. They're going to fire that coach, and I don't think it's his fault. If you're going to fire someone in Denver, you can't fire Vance Joseph. You look right to the head of the horse, if you will. John Elway. Guy has been I believe the phrase is putrid talent evaluator from that chair. And yeah, Vance Joseph's doing the best he can with what he's got, but what he's got, not a whole lot of good. Chargers beat the Seahawks 25-17. Let me preface all this by saying I don't think the Seahawks are very good. I think that it's over in Seattle, 4-4 right now. Outside looking into the playoffs when it all gets said and done, the Chargers have won 5 in a row. Phillip Rivers just keeps throwing touchdown passes. His completion percentage is for shit, but I don't know what to tell you. Like, the guy just gets it done. I've never been a Phillip Rivers fan. I've never been someone who thought that he was particularly talented. I think that he's having an army of children to possibly overthrow the American government. Someone should look into that. But look, Melvin Gordon turned into a little girl like they thought he would, and they've resurrected Keenan Allen. I don't tell you, man. All of a sudden, the Chargers are really good, and because they're the other team in LA, no one notices. I, for one, hope they move back to San Diego to give that town an identity beyond, oh yeah, San Diego. Marquee game of the week for my money was the Rams and the Saints. Woo! Let's talk about the Rams first. 8-1, they handed their first loss, Mercury Morris popping bottles of champagne. And, yeah. What can you say about the Rams? People are saying, oh, this is the mark that the Saints are better. Saints are at home. Well, this is the mark where we say, Gurley got bottled up. You say bottled up, I say 13 for 68 for one touch. And he caught some balls too. Like what they bottled him up a lot was, I thought in the passing game, they did a really good job of putting faster backers and safeties on Todd and creating coverages where he couldn't get loose and use his elusive ability. For my money, Todd Gurley is the MVP for the first 8 weeks. You get out there now. He's been amazing. Jared Goff's been great, but it's hard for me to divorce Jared Goff from the coach that I know is talking into his ear up until 10 seconds before the snap. It's tough. That's just, call me a Luddite, call me behind the times. I just think it's weird that the quarterback is basically a fucking puppet. So, I'm a child. Speaking of being a child, fuck the Saints. Saints are 7-1. They're really good at football. Drew Brees is some sort of wizard. 25 of 36 for 346 and 4 touchdowns. And if you want to have the conversation of Drew Brees, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of my lifetime. I think Aaron Rodgers is the best. But no one scares me like Drew Brees in the Superdome. No one. At home, Drew Brees, he's fucking terrifying. And then you gave him Alvin Kamara, who, when I tell you the story of Alvin Kamara, is amazing. Amazing. The man was a backup at Bama, got basically transferred to, I think it was UTC or Tennessee, was buried in the depth chart, was a third day pick maybe, and he's this. He's this. Atlanta kid, because of course, but he's this now. Michael Thomas, shout out to the cell phone thing. I loved it. I was in college when Joe Horn did that because I'm an old person. But yeah, that was that. Yo, respect. He was paying homage, and that I can salute. And if you want to talk about like the really kind of freak of nature guys, Tom Brady's like, oh, he's still playing. Oh, Drew Brees is still playing. Ben Watson's 37 Earth years old. He caught a touchdown on Sunday and announced via celebration that his 5 children would soon be joined by 2 new twins who are on the way. Congratulations to Mrs. Watson. Benjamin, what are you going for? The record. Jesus, calm down. Yeah, but Ben Watson isn't just out there playing quarterback and not getting hit. Ben Watson's playing tight end, blocking still, which some tight ends don't do at the end of their careers, and catching touchdown passes. Let's get his system. Fuck TB12. What's Ben Watson doing besides clearly a whole lot of fucking? All right. Let's go to the Sunday night game. Everyone told you it was a marquee matchup for the battle for the GOAT. Packers, Pats in Foxborough. And it was kind of meh. It was a Patriots game, man. It was tight through 3. And all of a sudden, oh, look, they pulled their Bama thing. And now it's over. It's just not fun to me. Unquestioned greatness. No one questions the greatness that's happening in New England. But, they're putting receivers at running back and just beating people's asses. Sonny Michel, one of my favorite dogs in recent memory, he's there. He's doing great. He's injured. So I thought, man, maybe that'll slow down the Patriots. The Patriots slow down what? They put Cordell Patterson with his 80s ass number in at running back. Josh Gordon picked up the trash heap in Cleveland. Killing him. 5 for 130 on Sunday. Now let's talk about the Packers for a second, because if someone wants to bring McCarthy on malpractice charges, coaching malpractice charges, I'll be a witness. Because it's got to burn Aaron Rodgers. It's got to kill him to look around the league and see Kyle Shanahan calling that offense that made a start of Nick Mullins, whose name I'm not sure I got right. It's got to kill him to look at Andy Reid basically being a stone 12-year-old in Madden with creating a play. It's got to kill him to watch what Tom Brady does as they put receivers at running back who don't call for fair catches because they're butthurt over not being taken out of series earlier. Yeah, Ty Montgomery is wrong as hell, man. Oh, they traded him for a bag of balls and some quarters. This shit was hilarious. I love petty football. Like, that small petty shit, that will always amuse me. But yeah, man, I don't know what to tell you. The Pats are sitting right now, what are they? 7-2. They're going to have to go to Kansas City, presumably, if things shake out in the AFC. And that's your game of the year. I think that the Super Bowl champions coming out of the NFC, I think it's the fucking Saints, and it makes me sick to say it. It makes me absolutely fucking sick to say it. Because if the Saints win a title in Atlanta, oh my God, all those people are going to be here. I hate all those people. Gumbo, gumbo, Ogeron, gumbo, gumbo, gumbo. No, I hate you all, mush-mouth idiots. It just occurred to me that I was thinking the Saints are going to the Super Bowl here. Never mind. If they make the Super Bowl, they will lose because I love my city and I love everyone in my city, and I especially love the people who work in our fine airports, hotels, and dining establishments. You know what to do. Code Fleur-de-Lis. Lastly, the Monday night game, which bravo on the NFL for selling ESPN a bill of goods. Like, yeah, you can buy Monday Night Football. We should give you shitty games. The Titans and Cowboys has not been a good game for, I think, 10, 15 years. It's not a marquee game. And because ESPN decides we're going to make it a marquee game, they let Michael Irvin go on television full of cocaine and scream about how the Cowboys are back. Cowboys aren't back. Back to what? What tradition? 23 years. 23 years of mediocrity. 2 playoff wins in 23 years. Cowboy tradition. Of what? Of getting too gassed up when you win a couple games so that all of a sudden all your little fans come out of nowhere and tell you, I've always loved the Cowboys, 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 and then they disappoint down the stretch. And I'm doing another one of these podcasts later this week for the top 25 poll in college football, which is going to be a lot of fun because I get to talk about a team in Notre Dame who is very Cowboys-ish. Their greatest days are long behind them. People think they're relevant because they were relevant. However, those people are currently dying out. And so their children who were told that, yeah, your team you loved, they were great ones, are now allowed to latch on to any semblance of life. This Notre Dame team, sorry for the brief distraction, but I hate Notre Dame. This Notre Dame team, literally, weeks ago, squeaked by a Pitt team, at home, mind you, 14-19. The headline on ESPN reads, Book Boykin bail out number 5 Notre Dame in 1914 win versus Pitt. If you should ever fall after a win, and people point out they've got some games left that they could lose, Lord willing. Because if they don't lose them, I hope they get Bama in the first round of the playoff. I hope this serves as a reminder to everyone the last time Bama was forced to deal with Notre Dame. And I don't think Notre Dame has to be bad. I just think we have to be realistic. I think last year's team was actually better than this year's team. But if they get on the field with Bama, you're going to see a marked difference. And just a quick reminder that Brian Kelly is just the worst kind of person. Go look up his quotes after the kid died on the scissor lift during a windstorm because he had to have his fucking practice. We take opportunity to be great. It was a great opportunity for that today, of course, until the tragedy. He's more mad that he lost the film from that practice. Anyway, where were we? Oh, Cowboys. Sorry, man. The Cowboys do it to me. The Cowboys take me to a place of Notre Dame and just, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why are you hurting me so much? Parts of football. But yeah, the Cowboys, look, guys, it's a wrap. It's been a wrap. Dak this leader of men shit of Dak Prescott, as we've said on this podcast repeatedly, got his ass beat by his offensive line in college. Dak Prescott couldn't lead a horse to water. He's going to be the standard bearer for your franchise? For who? For what? Zeke's a guy. Just another guy. He's fine. Just another guy. And this is why the NFC East will continue to be garbage and why the Eagles are going to squeak into the playoffs. And then, once that happens, we've proven Doug Peterson's a psychopath and anything can happen. Hopefully they'll knock out the Saints and go win the Super Bowl in Atlanta. At least the Saints don't do it. I've made myself depressed by doing this avoidance of voting podcast. Amazing. Titans are another one of those AFC South teams that you can't really figure out. They look good one week, bad one week. Mariota is playing with nerve damage to his throwing hand. He loses feeling in his pinky and his index finger. Hey, go throw a football and try not to use those two fingers. It's not that fucking easy. I think they're working around it, working through it, and I think that unlike certain other Belichick disciples, I think that coach on there has got a pretty good handle on what's coming up next. My picks for the rest of the season, fuck the Saints. Give me the Rams. and give me probably the Patriots, but fuck the Patriots. So give me the Rams and Chiefs. Give me something new. Give me something fresh, America. Give me LA versus Kansas City. This could have been a great Missouri-only Super Bowl, but hey, we're here now. That was your show. We'll be back later this week with a top 25 breakdown of college football. We'll be back on Monday with your very next UD pod. That was your show. This is your outro. See you guys later this week.